el míster aquí. Yo aquí. Sí, aquí en el centro. Jesús por acá. Iván por el lado. Ven aquí con nosotros.
So, good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the press conference of the second finalist, Sevilla. We are glad to have here on stage, as you can see, head coach Jose Luis Mendilibar, two players, Captain Jesus Navas and Ivan Rakitic, to answer your questions. So wait for the microphone. Whenever you are ready, we can start and give you the floor now. Let's start with this first one. First row here in the middle. Yeah.
Buenas tardes. Una pregunta para Iván y para Jesús, como capitanes. Los dos.
Good evening. A question for Ivan and Jesus. As captains, you've both had the privilege to lift this trophy for Sevilla Football Club. What memories do you have of lifting that trophy, and what kind of advice could you give younger players who are eager to do that? Well, it's something unique, special, incredible. I'm from Seville. I've been a Seville fan since I was little, so getting trophies with Seville is the biggest thing for me. And of course, we have one more chance to do something historical for Seville and keep up with the good work. Well, obviously, I would like them to ask them to enjoy the previous moments, the training session right now. I'll tell them not to forget the pre-match routines they've got, how they approach the games, etc. Seeing how UEFA prepares for the game, etc. is already a show on its own. It's a unique thing. So after the feeling, it's the biggest thing. You know, everyone that has Seville in our hearts know what this means for all of our fans, and there's nothing nicer. It will be nothing nicer than bringing that, giving that trophy again to our fans again. I'd like to ask the coach, questions for the coach after the players, please. Well, I have this question for both captains. How's the dressing room? What's the feel of the dressing room? There are some certain concern in the dressing room around Gudel, certain news, injury news, etc. For example, with Marcao, who's been present in important moments, and how do you approach the game with this? Well, they all have our support. They've all training with our support and our care and attention to both of them, to Gudel, etc. I hope everything turns up okay, and I hope we can dedicate the victory to them. You've managed to eliminate two teams like Manchester United and Juventus, assuming risks of playing an offensive game. Tomorrow's team is a different profile. It's going to wait at the back more likely. So what's the game plan for tomorrow? Is it being brave and trying to achieve a victory from the word go, or is it about waiting and see how the game develops? Well, we have to be ourselves. We're doing, since our coach arrived, we're playing really well. We're training really tight. It's a lot of excitement. We need to be intense and go out there to try and do our best, because we are really want this trophy that is so beautiful and so important for us. I think the coach has been really clear about it since the first day, about what he wants from us. What he expects from his team, so that's not going to change tomorrow. We need to be ourselves, play our football, play our game, knowing that we're going to have to play the perfect game tomorrow and give 100%. We cannot think about anything else about playing the best possible football tomorrow, and of course go try and win. But this is the way we always approach games. Hi, Jesus. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon, Ivan. I don't know, between you two, I don't know how many finals you've played throughout your career, both at Sevilla and outside. What do you think that, which errors or mistakes would be unforgivable when you approach a final like this? Well, obviously, we need to be patient. We know we are facing a great rival. They're going to be really tight at the back, and we have to be patient in order to try and hurt them. And of course, be very intense, because playing a final, you need to have a lot of intensity, and the team has to be mentally ready for it. Obviously, it's very clear where every little detail, every mistake will be punished, you know. If you don't play, well, you need to play the perfect game. Well, that starts today. Training well today, resting well tonight, etc. Preparing everything. Because when we say we need to be ourselves, etc., these things, we need to do our normal approach to games. Just treat it as one more day in the office, so to speak. So we expect to face a great rival, but we need to think of ourselves on our game and try to play the perfect game, like we said. Another question for players? Hi, Ivan. Good afternoon. You've won, Sevilla has won 6 finals, you know, and you've made this this sentence, nobody wants it like us, but like Mourinho said before, history doesn't win. So what has more weight on a final? Nothing really weights. If we're here, it's because we deserve it, because we did things well in the playoffs, etc. So obviously nobody gives you anything in football, so we deserve being here. And all these 2 legs, we've been all in all the best team. So if we want it, we're going to have to do it ourselves. We're going to have to play the perfect game, like I said before, and nobody's going to have to, you know, so only because somebody made up that sentence in the club offices, that doesn't really take an iota of excitement from us. So we are going to start with this eagerness right now on the training session, and we will need to prove it tomorrow on the pitch. Like I said, play the perfect game, get the trophy, and bring it home.
Okay, we can go. Gracias.
So here in the second row, please, gentleman in the middle.
Thank you. Welcome to Budapest in the final, Mister. Congratulations for Sevilla participation in this game. What is this special situation for this club? How do you experience inside the club 6 finals, 6 titles, 6 wins, 3 different coaches? Now you managing to lead the club in another final. What's the special element? What's the special condition on this club, and what is the big advantage for this 6-on-6 history about tomorrow's final? Thank you.
Well, let's see. When I got here, the club had already been through a series of knockout rounds. So it's not only my credit, but the people who came before. And, well, history is there. It doesn't lie. The club in this competition, you know, especially in the last 20 years, has been the best team in this competition. Like I said, you know, the trophies are there. And it's true that even if the team is struggling, when you come here, when you get to a final, or when you get to Sevilla, people don't settle for playing, you know, a few good games, etc. No, they will tell you that the Europa League is there and you need to compete for it. We saw it from a distance when we arrived. Well, we've managed to play a couple of good games against good teams, but we did things right. And we are going to play a very different team tomorrow. But we have our own weapons, and I'm convinced we'll be able to play a good game tomorrow. I wanted to ask you a question that I made Mourinho before, and it's the following: what has bigger weight in a game like this? A coach's bigger experience, for example, Mourinho has bigger experience, or the budget of the club. Roma's budget is bigger than Seville, or is it history that in this case it plays in favor of Sevilla? No, it's just a football game. All that is really good. All that you mentioned. It depends where we want to put the weight. We can think about one factor or the other, but in the end, it's a football game. We both deserve to be in this final. And I'm sure it's going to be complicated for both teams to try and to win this trophy. But I don't know what can wait more. For me, it's the first. It's the first time for me in a situation like this. It's not for my players, it's not for my clubs, but it is for me as a coach. In this moment, in a moment like this, the budget doesn't count so much. I think it's just the moment, and to be and not to make mistakes, because we all know that mistakes are very much punished, and we need to try to make as little mistakes as possible. Since you knew who you were going to play, Mourinho has been talking about you, praising you and Sevilla, and saying that they're going to play young players, saying that you've got the same amount of experience, blah blah blah. How do you take that? Is he sweet talking you? What do you think Mourinho is after? Well, he's got. We've both got grey hairs. He got grey hairs before me, but still, anyway, I'm really grateful for his words about what he said about the club and the team. But like I said before, history does not win games, and sweet talking does not win games either. So it's going to be super complicated, We've eliminated great teams, but the most difficult one is ahead of us. It's one football game. There's no advantage or disadvantage. We're playing in a neutral ground, and like I said before, the team who makes less mistakes, I'm sure, will win the night, will win the day. So we'll know how we're going to approach the game, but we also know how they are going to approach the game. So, after that sort of fight on the pitch, we'll see who wins. Our game plan is very clear, and we're not going to change that. I wanted to see how you face the game tomorrow, knowing that from Thursday, your future is really uncertain. We don't know what's going to happen with Seville and you. Well, it doesn't matter. I didn't sign for anything else. I don't care. If I had cared, I would have pushed them and try and renew for 2 years, blah blah blah. I didn't care back then, and I don't mind now. I was unemployed. I came to Seville. The contract ends on the 30th of June, but my work will end next Thursday. And what I try to do is I'll try to play tomorrow's game and try and win it, and try and end the league in Anoeta in the best possible way. And from then onwards, we'll see what happens. But I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about that at all. Mourinho said before that Sevilla are favourites. Are you comfortable with that role? Do you think it's too kind of, what do you think about that? Well, it doesn't really matter to be favourites or not. I just don't think about these things. I don't think about going out there tomorrow as favourites or not. I don't give that sort of thing any importance. In the end, I guess the bets are somewhere affected by that. Maybe one of or the other will have a small advantage, but that doesn't mean we will win or lose. You know, that advantage will not necessarily be transferred onto the pitch. I don't care what anyone says. I'll try to have my players as calm as possible and as focused as possible, and to try and play the best possible game tomorrow. That's the most important thing. Have you decided your lineup for tomorrow at 100%, or do you have any doubts? Well, I hope the nothing happens on the training session that we're going to see now. If nothing happens, it's all decided. I just thought about what needed to think in order to decide my lineup. We needed to wait until the latest game to see what happened in case there was any injury, but it's clear in my mind.
I'd like to know, what are you most concerned about with regards to Roma? I'm sure you've watched them a great deal. In terms of their characteristics, what are you most concerned about?
Well, it's a very strong team. They are really organized in defense, and they don't need many chances in order to score and win, and they don't worry too much about going to the opposite goal. We do worry about getting to the opposition's goal. They feel comfortable if they have to defend closer to their own goalkeeper, but they have played both sort of, in both areas. They are a difficult team because normally they don't get nervous. They're really focused and calm. Time goes by and they are equally calm. And we need to show the same poise on the pitch. What did you feel when you entered the stadium, and do you think it's going to be hard to sleep tonight? No, I think I'm going to have a good night's sleep. And I'm sleepy because I got up really early to come here tonight. So I think I'll be able to sleep really well. What did I feel when you arrive at a pitch like this, knowing what the kind of game you're going to play the next day? Obviously, you get a little something, and of course I will feel something tonight, but it's better to feel it now rather than arriving tomorrow and see everything. So that way, when you arrive tomorrow, you know what to expect. But I think I'm going to be able to sleep properly tonight. I don't know if you will let me train, to be honest, because this is taking so long. You've knocked out Juve and also Manchester United. In the game that you've got in your head, which you've watched 1,000 times, do you imagine anything similar to those games that you played before? But are you going to play differently because it's Roma? Yeah, well, it's going to be different. Manchester United have nothing to do with Juve. And I don't think Roma will have anything to do with any of the two. They're really the three very strong teams, but very different, and with the same weapons. Without wanting to change anything, we are going to try and win and beat this other team that is so different to the previous two. So I think we need to be focused in defense, calm with the ball, being on the lookout when we've got the ball in order not to lose possession and not be hurt by that. And if we do that right, I think we've got options to win the game. Last question. Tomorrow, many modest coaches are going to be looking at you as a reference for them. Your captains already said that you're not going to change your game plan. Do you feel a special responsibility ahead of the most important game in your career so far? No, I mean it, and I always say this. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying football since I arrived at Sevilla, both in the Liga, and the Europa League, and I hope to finish this game and the next game, or the next La Liga game, in the same way, by enjoying it. I go out on the pitch knowing that I'm convinced that we've got options. Then we can win, lose or draw. But in my mind, I always got the possibility of winning in my head. Sometimes it's going to be difficult to win, etc. No, but now, every time I step on a football pitch, the idea of winning is in my head. And that's not going to change in the next 2 games. Now, for the very last question, gentleman in yellow. You said you don't mind about your future, but do you think tomorrow's game may be important for your future? I don't think so. If what we've done so far, is not going to be what we've done so far is not going to be affected by tomorrow's result. It's like a journalist who writes a story about 90 minutes, and then he has to change the whole story because there is a last-minute goal. I don't think that happens.